Welcome back. We've been focusing on early childhood development. It is World Children's Day on the 20th of November. Of course, ECD plays a very important role in nurturing our children from that early age of birth. Still with us is early childhood development specialist Marie-Louise Samuels, a retired director for ECD for the Department of Basic Education. We have educationalist Yandiswa Xhakaza, CEO of Nali'Bali NGO, and the CEO of the HCI Foundation, Jamala Safari. Ms. Xhakaza, let me start with you. A number of things have been mentioned in our discussion about we can't really overemphasize the importance of ECD.
Yeah.
There are gaps here and there, and a number of points have been mentioned. But as we conclude our discussion in this hour, if there were three things that you think we as a nation should focus on to ensure that our children will have a reimagined future, all our children, what would those be?
Thank you. So for me, initially I thought, no, government should make it a bit more seamless and easier to register ECD centers, but I don't think that's quite the thing. I do think, I traveled to Finland a couple of years back, and they've got government preschools. And that controls for the kind of infrastructure, that controls for the poor that, will be relegated to substandard centers, depending on geographically where they are. So I do think that government should perhaps consider having government preschools in the same way that in the public education sector we've got non-fee paying schools, and those can be tiered according to affordability. But that's perhaps for me one of the quickest ways in which we can get the right infrastructure, the right people in the right communities, and gear up for that quality early learning. And the second part to that is resources. Any school we know and any ECD centers without the right resources, even the best of teachers will find it difficult to work in that space. And so as we speak about corporate foundations and government, if we can all work together to make sure that we provide and inundate these centers with the right resources, we would make a lot of headway in terms of the quality of learning in the ECD centers. And those for me are probably the most two. I know you said three.
Okay.
But
No, it's fine. It doesn't have to be three, but they're very important. Government preschools, I guess they would have to be in the poorest of the poor areas, as you say,
Correct.
to give access and then get the right kind of resources. Ms. Samuels, let me bring you up next. We'll leave the gentleman for last today. He's the only flower present here on this panel discussion today.
Yeah, Dan, I think that, the future that we are looking towards is a future where we might have another pandemic. It's a future where people are going to be looking for food, where there won't be enough water. And so we really need already to start shaping what it is that we are doing, knowing that we must be ready for that reality. And so for me, in addition to what was suggested about having government preschools, I would probably say we need government programs, particularly for the poor. And we haven't spoken about children with disabilities, Dan, but that is one of the most vulnerable groups that we have in South Africa. And so our government programs must reach out to those children with disabilities. I think we need, secondly, to empower families. Families need to have food gardens. Families need to know how to stimulate their children. In the event that there's another pandemic and people are left at home with their children. So families need to be much more empowered to deal with that reality. And the third thing that I think that I wish for is that we must close this digital divide that we have. And so that in the event of us being able to, have a situation like we just had, that we are just experiencing at the moment, we will have the tools that will provide the access to the programs that we would like children to experience.
Ms. Samuels,
so those are my three wishes.
Very important one. And final word to you, Mr. Safari.
Yeah, Dan, well, this is quite a complex topic, but I feel like there are quite a few things that we can do. I think one thing first is to make sure that there is accessibility. There is access to ECD. Every child in the country should be able to access quality ECD, whether you are in a rural area, small town, somewhere in the country, or somewhere in a really impoverished community. You should be able to go to an ECD center. So government should push really hard, and corporate sector should come on board to ensure that every community has got that quality ECD center where a child should go and learn and grow at. Secondly, I think really just emphasizing quality. We cannot just go and, I think quality is important. And quality starts with nutrition, quality starts with, the quality of learning of the program that is offered, and even just the training of the practitioners. We can't compromise there. And thirdly, for me, I think we have to measure and see the impact of what we are doing. There is no point of just throwing money on a problem, but we have to all the time measure, see the impact, refine, so that ultimately when we look back maybe 5 years from now, we can say, well, look at the impact of what we're doing. Because for me, I think impact is very, very, very important.
Okay, no, thank you very much there. That's Jamala Safari, the CEO of the HCI Foundation. And we also had Ms. Samuels. She's a former or retired director of ECD in the Department of Basic Education, Marie-Louise Samuels. And in the studio with me here in Johannesburg, we have Ms. Xhakaza, Yandiswa Xhakaza. She is, of course, from the NGO Nali'Bali, and you started a school. We didn't even get to talk about that. You are an educationalist after all. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time on this World Children's Day. We have a lot of work to do ahead, of course, and there's a lot of focus, and government needs to come to the party, and everybody needs to work together for the sake of our children. We need all to do our bit for a reimagined future, a better one for all our children.